Hey lads and lassies, how's they doing? And welcome to the Steady Chronicle. That's the title I've decided for this. You join me in, I suppose technically Fife, crossing the Forth Road Bridge, I should say, to Edinburgh. That's the Forth Bridge, the rail bridge behind me. There's a train that's just gone over. And then there's a Gaz. Say hello, Gaz. He's my sort of guest in this one. And then there's the new railway bridge that side. Really amazing, this bridge. I'll go through some things separately, but it's 10 years this year since I've started doing YouTube. Started with just like doing bus videos and things like that. Obviously since then I've moved on to vlogs and live streams and things like that. I've got some notes as to what I want to say. I've split this up into either 5 or 7 videos depending on, just haven't decided. I think it's going to be 5. I'm going to do them all in different locations, possibly with some different guests and things like that. It's basically going to explain a backstory of me, how I got into buses, how I got onto YouTube, and that sort of thing. So they're going to be fairly short videos, and this one is going to be while I cross the Forth Bridge. There is an leak going past. So before we start with my history, we need to go back to about 1986. On Friday the 9th of May, where a young man named Michael started his bus career with the West Yorkshire Road Car Company as a cleaner at the Red Bus Station on Vicar Lane in Leeds. Come October 26th of the same year, Yorkshire Rider then took over the business, although not operations were fully under their name until around 1990. In April of that year, he moved to Kirkstall, spent a few years on a day shift before moving to the nightly 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. shifts. As Headingley had closed its doors for the last time, and all operations from Headingley moved into Kirkstall. Kirkstall, I think, at the time was just like a maintenance sort of depot, as opposed to like an actual operating depot. But when Headingley closed, everyone moved into Kirkstall, the old tram depot. So come 1997, he'd progressed from being a cleaner to fueling / shunting duties, and in 2008 the depot had finally closed after 111 years of operation, both as a tram and a bus depot. And he moved to Hunslet Park, the brand new purpose-built Hunslet Park depot. By the way, happy 14th birthday, I guess. So he moved there, and he served in that depot until 2013, when he then transferred to Bramley, being a little closer, and has been there ever since, still carrying out the same duties. Come 2020, I would say, that's when I went to go join him, but I will get onto that in a separate video, as there's a whole backstory there to go through. So I think it's very clear to say where my inspiration came from as a child. We used to go out on buses, to town, to Morley, things like that. We didn't have a car, so obviously with him having a staff pass, it was free travel to places, so we were very dependent on lots of different buses. Where we lived in Kirkstall, there were vehicles based at the Kirkstall depot at the time when I grew up, along the bottom road as we called it, which were like the 730 through to 736, I think they were numbered, which is now known as the 33 and the 34. And then Bramley ran services like the 41 at the time, before it changed to the 49, the 5050A, the 38s, the 91 and 91A, and I think that's it out of those ones. We also had the Black Prince 752, which ran from Kirkstall to the Armouries, I think it was, or something like that. So yeah, there was a wide variety of different vehicles, different operators, just from around where I grew up. So I suppose my interest grew from there. There were certain types of buses that I liked more. I know now what they are, such as the Scania Strider. They were very, very popular in Leeds. They were like designed for Yorkshire Rider, so there were plenty of those around, and many, many rides with those. There were the Scania RH Deckers that ran a lot around the area. We had the Leyland Atlanteans and the Leyland Olympians that ran on the 41 and the 49s and the 50s. Then we moved into the Volvo era when we had the Volvo Olympians, the Royales. They were new for the 50s services, not the 49s or the 41s. I think still ran when the 41 was still running, just. And then we moved on to the ALX 400s, further upgrades to the network. I can feel the bridge shaking every time a coach goes across. So we moved on to the ALX 400s, and we got plenty of those for those services at Bramley. And then in 2004 we got the B70 right eclipse Geminis in mass amounts, so that pretty much converted the routes to sort of low floor vehicles generally. It ushered out the Leylands, the Atlanteans soon were withdrawn when they came in, and so on and so off through B9s and street decks. Yay. Whereas Kirkstall, they got the metro buses, mostly on the bottom road corridor, and they moved on to Olympians as well, and then on to eventually Volvo B9s and a few B7s that they got as well. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of variety growing up. 38s we had the and the 91s we had the Striders. We eventually got onto Wrightbus, Scania Ultra Lows, the R Regs, and the floor lines, the T and V Regs. So we've got those. We've got Dennis Darts and Dashes, which eventually were replaced with like B6 BLEs, and eventually Scanias as well. And then moved on to right eclipse Urbans, like 667s, the old style Eclipses, and then 69s, the newer style ones, which we still got. So those were pretty much everything that I had growing up where I was. Going to school, things like that, was mostly with Scania buses on the then 1818As, going up to Lawnswood, or if I went through Headingley, got to go on a bendy bus, Volvo B10LAs when we still had those. I got to go on those for about 2 years, I think, before they were withdrawn 2008-2009. But we did have the York examples, the B7 LA Eclipse Fusions, for a little while longer on the number ones and the 95s. They had a brief spell of being orange as a bright orange bus, and eventually they were withdrawn. Olympians were quite common sight on the uni routes, and then eventually like B7s, B9s on those, and now street decks. So going through to college, but it's mostly low floor buses by that point. That was in 2012 when I went to college. Still a few Olympians left, because we didn't get the 12 plates at the time. They came around September after we finished at the Olympics, so most of the time it was still Olympians, old ALXs and things like that. My college was at Thomas Danby, which was just before Roundy Road, so it was on the 12 and the 13 surfaces, which had B9TLs pretty much all the time. So yeah, there you go. That is pretty much got up to now as to my childhood of buses and my inspiration. So I do hope you enjoyed part 1 of this series. Part 2 will be coming up tomorrow as I make this. So stick around and I will see you guys then.